Dean Dunham on LBC. Text 84850.
Before we get back to your calls on this, I want to just turn quickly to a story that's been hitting the headlines this week, and it's about these parking apps. These are the apps that where you go onto the app and you pay for parking, whether it's with a local authority or a private parking company. They've been the subject of lots of criticism, lots of media. And the reason I want to turn to this is that the RAC has released findings of new research that shows that 3/4 of UK drivers are reporting having problems trying to pay for parking using these apps over the last 12 months. And the research has also revealed that the top of the list for frustrations, and I've had this, by the way, is reliable mobile phone signals in car parks. That's happened to me so many times. I'm sure it has to you as well. Another issue is the app incorrectly recognizing your car, so it thinks your car is a different car or just doesn't recognize it at all. There's functionality problems, and also there's problems with actually taking payments as well. Lots and lots of problems. And if you've had one of these problems, you'll know how frustrating this can be. So earlier this morning, I caught up with motoring expert Scott Dixon to get his thoughts on this. And I started by asking him how often he's hearing complaints about these parking apps.
All the time, Dean, and parking apps are one of the biggest sources of motoring complaints I get, along with faulty cars, the same as yourself. And people struggle with unreliable apps that crash, poor signals in car parks, confusing sign-up processes, or being forced to use multiple apps just to park in different places. And it is a big source of frustration for drivers who just simply want to park and get on with their lives.
So we know the government is announcing that there'll be the launch of the National Parking Platform, as it calls it. And my understanding, Scott, is this is going to be one app that will apply to all car parks. So you won't have to go on to multiple different apps on your phone or tablet or whatever you use. Is this the answer? Is this going to solve the problem?
It would definitely make life simpler, because one app is better than juggling 5 or 6, and apparently there's over 30 different apps across the whole of the UK. But I don't see it as a silver bullet, and the key issue is reliability and fairness, especially with appeals. And even one app won't help if drivers are fined, in the case of council, parking penalty charge notices. Private parking operators issue parking charge notices, which are different, and they are merely invoices for an alleged breach of contract for parking on private land. So one app won't help if people are penalised. And you've got the poor signal and glitches when you're paying and things like that. So it's a step in the right direction, but the system itself needs to be made fairer as well, especially with the appeals process.
So hopefully we find with this new single app that the technology gets better. Hopefully I don't know how they're going to solve the mobile phone issue, but perhaps they've got that in hand. But as you say, that is I understand that's the number one complaint in relation to the various apps that are available on the market. But Scott, one thing that does concern me here as well is that many people say to me, well, we don't want to use an app, or we don't really know what an app is. Some of people that are of elderly age who don't want to use modern phones and smartphones and so forth. What are they going to do? What will they find?
It's a huge concern, and I'm one of those motorists, not that old and vulnerable and things like that, but I don't want to use apps, and I refuse to use them. And it opens up a wider conversation regarding vulnerability, and it's Mental Health Day today. And many consumers are vulnerable and they're not digital savvy. And not everyone has a smartphone or wants to share their data through an app. And there must be an alternative way to pay, whether it's by cash, card or phone. Otherwise, people risk being unfairly penalised just because they're not tech savvy. And parking should be accessible to everyone, not just the digitally confident. And personally, I use out-of-town retail car parks because they're free and easy to use, and everybody just wants a frictionless experience. And it's in the news today here in Scotland that footfall is down over 2% over the past quarter in towns and cities, and I think this is part of the problem. People just go to out-of-town retail parks for that reason, because they don't want to use apps and because it's so difficult to park in towns and cities nowadays.
That was motoring expert Scott Dixon. I mean, those apps, they are so frustrating. I mean, I now go down to the shops on my skateboarder. You don't have to pay for parking. You can carry it into the shop. Job done. That seems to be the best way to go.